King's Custom Garage. In this video I want to continue with the roll pan area, and we're going to get the latches for the tailgate put on, and I believe we're going to try and get the front area of the bed took care of. In this one I'm going to go ahead and finish somewhat getting the roll pan area done. It won't be the whole roll pan, but the area that's just below the tailgate. We're going to get it took care of. We're going to get the latches put on for the tailgate, and I believe I'm going to address the front section of the box. I'm sorry. I also want to. I've been wanting to do this for a video or so, and I forgot all about it. I've got a buddy that's also got a YouTube channel, and I want to give him a shout out. The little King's Custom Garage clip at the beginning of the videos, he kind of whipped that up real quick for us. I've been meaning to get a good intro going, and I just haven't had time to get it. I got to get some good content or whatever for a nice little intro. But anyways, his YouTube channel's called Dirt Floor Garage. So if you don't mind, or you're looking for other channels, go give him a look. He does some dirt racing and just a little bit of odds and ends stuff. But yeah, if you don't mind, go check his channel out. I appreciate it. Thanks, Corey. So what I want to do is I've got this piece already cut for the most part that goes up under the tailgate. I think we're going to get it took care of, and then I've gotten my latch for the tailgate. I've got those figured out. I'm just going with something simple, and then I think I'm going to try and get this the front section on this box done. I've got that piece there. It's a little short. It was left over from the piece that we done here and the other piece that I'll do down here, but it's the perfect height. It's just a little short. So what I think I'm going to do, just so I can use it, I think I'm going to come in the corners. We'll get this up here where it needs to be. We'll get it welded in, and beside it on the corners it lacks just a little bit. I think I'm going to come in here with a piece of angle iron and just fill this corner with a piece of angle iron, and it'll finish this corner up anyways. I was going to do angle iron in these corners regardless. I know I'd said I was going to do it at the tailgate. I hadn't said nothing about this, and the only reason I was going to do it here is just so I don't have to weld this whole corner and try to grind it and get it smoothed and finished. If I do a piece of angle iron, maybe it'll look a little better. Now I know it'll stand out on this side here, and I'm completely fine with that. It's not going to bother me one bit. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look at it before I make my final decision. I know that's not what I should do. I should just one piece solid it. It would take care of the extra welds, but I look at it in the sense of I got to weld down the side anyways. So we're going to see how that goes. This piece does have a little bend in it, so I'll get it flattened out, back out. But that's what I want to address in this video. All I'm going to do for the tailgate latch is I'm going to come off the side. I'm going to trim some of this out here. I'm going to come off the side of the tailgate with a plate that's got a slot in it, and then I'm going to come off this stake pocket with a plate that's got a hole in it, and it'll slide through the slot. Sorry about that, my battery died. So what I was saying is I'm going to come off here with a plate. It'll have a slot in it. Come off here with a plate that'll have a hole in it. This plate will slide through the slot on this plate, and then we can just put a pin in it on both sides, and that'll be the latch for the tailgate. I've just put a lot of extra thought into it and tried to make it a lot more complicated than what it should be, just because I was trying to come up with, something kind of cool or different. But I'm just going to do that. I've already started cutting some plates out and stuff to do those on both sides, and I think that's what we're going to do in this video. So I'm going to start getting stuff set up and get everything together, and we will start getting probably going to do the roll pan area first, because I'm going to have to take the tailgate back off. We'll take the tailgate back off, get that roll pan area took care of. We'll put the tailgate back on, and then we'll get the latches took care of. And then after we get this area back here done, we'll look at the front box area. Okay guys, so now we're going to get the latches put on the tailgate. I've already got the little plates made that I'm going to use. So this is what my latch is going to be. This will slide into this, and we'll put a pin into this. This one will be mounted to the tailgate. This will be mounted to the stake pocket. So I'm going to start getting everything set up and get these on. I think it'll work all right. I did go ahead and I came and notched this piece out here so it'll actually sit in there, and then won't have to worry about the thing being way out. I was back and forth on how far around I wanted them to stick, so that's why I went in here and notched those back. That way these don't stick past the tailgate. So let me get everything set up, and we'll get those put on. Alright guys, so I got those on there. I think they turned out really good. I haven't ground none of the welds or anything like that yet. I'm not too concerned with them right now. Just pop the pins out. There it is. I like it. Don't pay attention to the welds. Little grinding and they'll look fine. Yeah. I had this is just a little coated steel cable, braided cable, and I figured I'd utilize the old chain hooks. That way I didn't have to worry about losing the pins anytime we took them out. So I think that'll work just fine. And I think also we could take, you want to open it up, you can hook them back on themselves. It keeps them out of the way from dangling, which I mean it wouldn't really matter if they were or not, but if you don't want them hanging, you know, you can just pop them up there like that. So I rather like it. I think it worked out a lot better than what I had planned on, and like I said earlier, I was just overthinking it and trying to make it, you know, more complicated than it needed to be. And all I was trying to do was find, you know, a different way to do it. I know that's not a different way to do it. That's rather common, I believe. but I think it works great. I ain't too concerned. These are sticking, sorry, these are sticking out just a hair past the tailgate, but they don't stick out past these, so I think it's fine. I'll come in and clean up those welds as best as I can. I'm not too concerned with the one on the side of the tailgate, but I'll hit it for the most part. But yeah, like, I think it looks good, and the roll pan area is coming together. It looks good. It's actually starting to look like the back of a truck, not just some sheet metal thrown together. But I'm happy with it. I think it looks really good. Changes the whole look of it just having that filler panel in there. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to continue that on. I want it to roll under the bottom of the truck some, so we may kind of angle it down a little bit and then continue it under the truck, and then I'm going to tie it into the fenders on both sides also. Yeah. And I mean, even if we didn't, it wouldn't look bad the way it is now, you know? But I think we're going to do a little more. There should still be a filler panel here. And I know, you know, I don't even know that this bed's the right length. I haven't measured. I have measured it, but I haven't measured it in the sense that I'm matching it to measurements from a bed. I would hope whoever originally started building it kind of went off of a correct measurement, but it's what I had. It's what was here when I got the truck, so I'm going to make it work. There may be some imperfections and differences, you know, here and there, and everything may not be perfect, but I'm not going for a 100% perfect show truck. You know, I just want it to be nice when we get done with it. If it only looks good from 50 feet away, that's better than what it was when we got it. It was in rough shape, and it may not look like I've done a lot, but we've gotten a lot done. I feel like we've gotten a whole lot done. And I'm trying to get it done as fast as I can. I'm trying to stay as consistent with the videos coming out as I can. I'm gonna try and do my best to stay on top of things, but I think I'm gonna call it a night. It's starting to get pretty late, and I feel like we've got a good bit done today. I know it don't seem like a lot, but you taking the time to weld and clean up and get some brackets made. And I know I didn't film making those brackets, but I think those are rather simple. If you want to know, the way I got that slot is I just took and drilled a bunch of small holes beside each other. I don't have a plasma cutter or anything like that. I just took and drilled a bunch of small holes beside each other, and then took that that carbide bit and opened it all the way up across and just cleaned it up. I took a file to it before I ever even put it on the truck, but I still had to come back once I got them on here and clean them up just a little bit. They were catching, but they're not now. Turned out great. I was worried I wasn't gonna like it, but I like it. So I'm gonna call it a night, guys, and we'll pick back up tomorrow. I think I'm going to do that front section, so we'll see you tomorrow and we'll get it took care of. It's the next day. I think today I'm gonna get started by getting that front section of the bed took care of. I did start by going ahead and I got the piece roughly cut out. I got everything ground down where it's set flush. Now, if you remember, I said this piece was too short. So what I've done, instead of the angle iron, I've made some filler pieces, and it'll be fine. It'll be another weld gap, but once it's cleaned up and stuff, you'll never even know it was there. I've got one of those for both sides. Yeah, it sucks, but I figured I had the extra metal left over from it was all this and that was one piece. I figured I would just use it. I was hoping that it was going to reach the whole length and not have to do it like that. But being that it's so close to the square tubing on the side, it'll be fine. And like I said, once it's all ground down, you won't ever even be able to tell it anyways. So I think I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to mess with getting the panel situated a little better, exactly where I want it. It needs to come down just a little bit. And then once I get that done, I'm going to go ahead and start burning it in, and we'll see how it looks when I get done. So we got that done. I got it welded in and ground down. I'll still have to go back on these sides some and do a little bit more grinding, but I'm not going to weld the corners or the bottom. I went around those brackets, but I'm not going to do the bottom and the sides until I got the bed back off the truck. It'll just be a lot easier. I think it looks a lot better. That was rough. My back's hurting now, bending over that cross member. But yeah, so I've done the same here as I've done on the back. I just dropped that down enough to where I had enough of a gap there that when I welded it and I come back and ground, it wouldn't take all that weld away. I mean, I think it looks decent. We'll come back and put a little bit of filler over that weld line and you won't ever even be able to see it. So I'm gonna open up the shop door. The shop's kind of smoky from welding and grinding. I'm gonna open up the shop door and let it air out and whatnot, and then we'll look at it again. I'm gonna step back, get a look at it from outside and stuff like that. All right, I let it air out a little bit. I think it looks good. I just wanted to get a look back from a distance closer than the garage door, or farther away than the garage door. So I think I'm gonna call it a night probably. I wanted to cut you on real quick and show you what I'd started working on. So I think I know I have. I've had to move the fenders again. I haven't done the passenger side yet, but I already done the driver's side, and I'll show you why. So I was getting ready. I was gonna work on figuring out these filler panels, and I had noticed that the gap wasn't even. It was a little less of a gap toward the front of the bed than toward the fender. So what I did was I went ahead and started figuring out and making some brackets to mount the running boards, because they're supposed to be mounted to brackets off the frame, not just between the fenders. So I've already got 2 brackets made for the fenders, just the front one for both sides. I've got this one on. I'm just still working on getting the holes drilled out to mount the running board to that bracket. But I wanted to cut you on and show the whole reason I hadn't shown any of this is it just kind of spiraled, and I worked myself backwards. The reason I moved the fender was they were still a little low. Even though I had moved them back down to where I originally had them, they were still a little low, and that was why the gap up here was off. So I got the front fender, or the front of the running board, where it needs to be, and that's where it will be. And I dropped the fender, or I'm sorry, I raised the fender just a little bit more to make that gap even. And now it's a even 6 inches in the front and in the back. That way the panel's not wonky looking and not square. So I wanted to cut you back on and show. I'll probably show the process from here on, but I wanted to get things figured out before I just started filming stuff, and it just pretty much ended up being a waste of film time. So I think it looks better. I felt like the fenders on the bed were a little high, still a little low, and I felt like it was more just the back side than the whole fender. But I moved the whole fender up just a little bit. I think a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch is how high I went, and it evened that panel back out. The running board says it's level. The fender says it's level, and that was with the running board on that bracket. So hopefully everything's where it needs to be. I think it looks a lot better as far as the fender wise. I felt like it was just still a little too low. The gap between the top of the fender and the bed rail, I felt, was a lot more than what you normally see on them. So like I said, I haven't done anything to the passenger side yet. I'm just trying to get what steps I need to take figured out, and that was my whole process. Once I get the fenders on right here where they're going for sure, I'm gonna go back through, start welding all the holes up in the bed. There's a couple spots that I've noticed these welds down through here have broke loose, so this whole bedside front corner flops quite a bit. So I'll probably slowly work around, and I'll end up majority all the way around both sides welding that to that 1-inch square tubing. I'm hopefully in the next couple of days I'm going to make a trip and get some more metal. I need to get some 1-inch square tubing. I need to get a little more sheet metal. I'm about down a sheet metal. That hood is not sheet metal, I found out. I went the other night and was going to cut down a couple pieces for these little bed extensions, and that hood's actually fiberglass. So I didn't know that. My buddy's got a 99 and it's a metal hood, but I don't know if they just changed it up because it was the Edge edition. So that'll be going to the scrap yard or junk, trash, wherever. So I'm going to make a trip here in the next day or so and hopefully get some scrap metal, or just get some metal odds and ends that I need. I need a few pieces of that 1-inch square tubing to do my braces across for the bed, and then that's probably what I'm going to use for the floor and the cab also. I think it is anyways. I know it'll be the best option for me to use anyways. And all I did on these running board brackets, and the only reason I've done it is because I have a bunch of it and I'm just trying to use it up, but I got quite a bit of angle iron. I took and welded 2 pieces together right down the center, 2 more, welded them together, and it's just like a L bracket. This side will bolt to the frame, this side will go up under and bolt to the running board. These are just the ones for the front. I've got the one on this side under there already. This one's for the passenger side, and next I'm going to get the ones for the rear figured out. I've gotten a few measurements for them, but I wanted the front one on and know exactly that's where that one's going to be, and this gap is right before I start making the next bracket, because that frame steps up right in there, so it won't be identical to this one. The section that comes off the frame will be longer. So yeah, I think it'll look a lot better once that's filled up. I've still got to finish cleaning that metal off a little bit, and I need to trim a little bit off of it still. It's just setting up in there, but I've got quite a bit behind the fender. That way I can put holes in it and also bolt that fender to that piece also. I believe it was supposed to be originally bolted in there. And I actually think those pieces bolted in from the factory. There would have been a lip that 90'd off the bottom of the bed, and that top side would have had a lip on it, same as, and they bolted together. I think I'm just going to weld that to the bed, and then it's got a 90-degree lip down here that matches with that other one. I don't know that they bolt together on the running board end, so I'll probably just leave it free floating. That way, you know, if somebody steps on it or the truck flexing when you're moving or anything like that, it won't be trying to flex that piece with the running board. So yeah, I think that'll make a big difference, getting those filler panels in there. And then once I get that area took care of, I may go ahead and try and do the little filler that's supposed to be here below the rest of that stake pocket. I have noticed that fender it's not touching the stake pocket, but it's almost in line with this one now. So maybe with me getting the running boards where they need to be and all that, the fenders will actually be even, because that one was farther forward than this one was, and now it's back almost even exactly where this one is. And I think this was the one that was closest to being where it needed to be anyways. So I know I still need to come and make some braces that come off the bottom of these fenders. I'll do that. This one actually still has the brace on it. The other side doesn't, but I'm going to make some for at least that one over there and attach them somewhere. I don't know if you can tell, this side may not be as bad because once again, those fenders, I'm not going to say they were identical in any way of where they were mounted, but all I'm gonna do on this side is I'm gonna get that front brace put on for the running board, and then I'll get this gap set at 6 inches also, and they should be even. I haven't measured this one yet, so I don't know how close I am or anything like that. I don't think it's too far off. I was looking at the bottom line of the fender here with the other side, and they actually looked pretty close. So that side may have been closer to being where it needed to be than this side, and I feel like it was because of where the fender was sitting, and this one was just too far forward. So yeah, I'm just trying to do some odds and ends, smaller stuff in this video, so it may be a little longer than a normal video or what they've been being. So I'm gonna probably plan on getting both of these done, and then I may call it a video after that. I don't know what all it's gonna take to finish up getting these brackets for the running boards done. And then getting these welded in, and I want to make sure that there's just a little bit of a gap at that bottom where it's not sitting completely on the running board. Alright, so I've got that side welded in. I don't know why, it's almost got a little warp to it, and it's not a warp from welding. I don't know if that panel's just got a little bit of a roll to it and it's trying to kick out. So the next time I take the bed off, I'll take and work that area and make sure it's nice and straight. And then the area behind the fender, I'm not going to weld it right now just because I didn't want to mess with taking the fender off. When I do the back sections that go in behind that lower section of the stake pocket, when I do that section, I'll finish welding this and finish it off behind the fender. There's a hole that goes in it for the fender to bolt in also, so I'll finish all that area later. I just wanted to start getting that gap filled, and it'll give us a better look at the truck, or you know, the bed will look better at least. It won't have that big gap there. I haven't done anything on the other side yet. I wanted to go ahead and get this side in and took care of. I knew where it needed to be and how big it needed to be. I took and, I don't know if you can see it, but I took and made the lip that folded 90'd off the back on this side, the bottom, and the side behind the fender. That way it had all that stability that it needed. Maybe whenever everything's welded in and finished, it won't be so flimsy. The bed sides, I mean, getting the stake pockets on the bed sides and whatnot, they're not nowhere near as flimsy as they were, but the front, like just the sheet metal across the bottom under that side bar that's got the sheet metal welded to it, under that there was nothing, so it was just flopping. There was 3 or 4 of the welds that had already broke down through there, so I went down through there and got those welded back up, so this piece isn't flopping anymore. It's a lot better. But I think I haven't really stepped back and looked at it yet. Let me turn that flashlight off. Hold on. There we go. I think it looks a lot better. Takes care of that wonky gap right there. Looks good. Looks good. I think so. I was just worried getting those done. I wanted them to be as straight and square as possible. I didn't want to get the panel on there and then you'd be able to tell that, you know, it went back at an angle, or this, there was less here and more here, or whatever, however it could have been. I wanted it to look as straight as possible. I think it'll work. I wasn't sure about welding them in. I had thought back and forth between going in on the bottom of that bed, welding a lip, you know, half inch to an inch lip off the back across there, and then folding a lip on the top of that filler panel that I just done, and then instead of welding it, just bolt them together. I believe that's how they were from the factory. Those panels were not fully welded in. It was a separate filler piece that went there. So originally they would have been bolted in anyways, but I just figured we'll clean it up a little extra, take care of that extra body line or gap, whatever you want to call it there, and just weld it solid. And we'll do the other side the same way, and then this back here, there's a section that goes, you can see it right there, needs to go from here down and fill that gap. And then I'm thinking about coming off the bottom of that roll pan and stake pocket and angling it back just, I don't know, just a slight angle. And then once it reaches the fender, break it back down straight and then have it roll under, and then just tie all that in, the fender and all, tie it all into one. So that's my thought there, just to clean up the back. I've seen a couple that look kind of like what I'm thinking about going with. Most of the trucks I've seen have more of a gap between that fender and that stake pocket. So I would assume that this bed is just a little bit shorter and it just don't have that extra room there to go between the fender and the stake pocket. I'm not worried about it. Like I said it previously, the bed was there when I got the truck. Somebody had put time into it. I do want to change those top rails from the galvanized tubing to just some regular, exhaust tubing or steel tubing. But I don't necessarily know that bed is the correct length for what they would have been. So I'm not worried about it. There will be, you can see it, there will be a slight gap between, I'll get my finger out of the way, maybe the camera will focus. There'll be a slight gap in between the fender and the stake pocket, and the gap on the other side is about the same amount. Now, I know I was having issues getting this fender to go and set where it needed to. Once I got the fender leveled and worked out where it needed to be and got this gap even, that's where the fender set. So getting them set right, I feel like kind of helped get it where it needed to be. And I knew the fenders weren't exact. I had a hell of a time getting those fenders up there and marked off for the holes to be drilled and all that to get them mounted. So I'll have to do quite a bit of welding and weld up some holes on the bed sides. That's fine. I still have to come over here to this side, and I need to my hope is that this gap will be the same as the other side. I believe it was 6 inches on the other side between. So my thought is I'm gonna have to do the same on this side that I done on that side and raise this fender. I think it was a 1/2 inch or so is all I did. I just went above each hole, 1/2 inch or so, whatever it was, and drilled another hole. I didn't mark nothing out. I didn't use a template. I was just shooting by the hip. But that's what I've got to do on this side before I start doing that filler panel. I want to get this measurement as close to that side as I can, so hopefully the fenders are, even with one another and all that. Are they where they're supposed to be? I don't know. I do know that where they were at, or in my eye, I feel like, where this one is at, I feel like there's too much of a gap here. And when I raised the one on the driver's side, that just, quarter, 1/2 inch, it doesn't look as bad in my eye now. I felt like it just looked weird, being that it was so, I don't know, I guess they were too low, which didn't make any sense because the running board was level. But, so yeah, I think that's enough jibber jabbering. I'm going to call it a night. It's kind of late, and I had some other stuff going on today, so I didn't get to spend as much time out here as I wanted to. I had to stop welding and whatnot and pick back up after I got back home. So I think I'm going to call it a night now. I got that one in there, and then tomorrow I'll probably spin the truck around and work on that other side, try and get it figured out. I do have the braces for the running boards. I haven't messed with the back one. I've got this front one in. I just need to bolt the running board to that bracket. I've already got the holes drilled in it. I've been trying to get as much done as I can in this video, just of the small stuff. And I was hoping to get both of those done, because that, other than finishing the roll pan area, that should be the majority of the sheet metal work that's left on the bed, minus just welding up the holes and getting some tubing to swap out the top rails. There's probably a lot more that that I'm just not thinking of right now. I know I talked about putting another panel on the front side of the front of the box there. But other than the roll pan area, which is probably going to be the majority of the headache as far with the bed, once those are done, I think we'll be pretty good. And then I don't know what I'm going to focus on next, but I'm going to call it a night, and I'll see you guys in the morning, and we'll get that other side knocked out. And more than likely after that, this will be a video. So we'll see you guys in the morning. Okay, I wanted to cut you on real quick and show you the panel before I weld it in. I've got the other side made. So all I did was cut the panel out. I left 1 inch on each side except for the top section. This would be the side that gets welded to the bed bottom, the bedside bottom. And then I used my vise, clamped it in my vise, took a hammer, knocked it over. The long side was kind of tedious, but just took my time and got it bent over where it needs to be. So that's basically it. I'm going to go ahead. I'll set you up on the tripod. I'm not going to set you on that side of the truck or anything, but I'll set you up on the tripod and time lapse me welding the other panel in. I did take this fender off, and I went ahead and finished that one up and straightened it up a little bit. And then the other side, I'll do the same. I'm going to get it on there, get it kind of tacked into place where I want it, and then I'll pull the fender down, weld it the rest of the way in behind the fender and all that. I'll put the fender back on and all that good stuff. I haven't got all of the mounts for the running boards put in yet. I do have the front one on this side. The other side is even. It's sitting right where it needs to sit. This panel's the same size as this panel was on the driver's side. I made them identical. So I'm going to go ahead and get this one welded in, and then we'll see what it looks like afterwards. Alright, so I got the other side done. I got everything put back on. Get this. I think it looks good. I did go ahead and took the fender off and all that, as you seen, and welded in behind the fender and put the fenders back on, and I think it looks real good. That little gap right there, I didn't care for that little gap being there anyways. It just made it look funky. But the bed looks a lot better now, considering that we've gotten, the roll pan area and the tailgate, stake pockets, the front of the box, those little filler panels there on the side. I think it's looking a lot better. A lot better. I went ahead, I did get some washers. I haven't slotted those holes, but I did drill them out one size bigger, and then I put the washers on the little 5mm bolts, and it worked great. They were tending to be a headache trying to get them, and you see this side was pretty loose down through there. It was flopping real bad and causing the bottom section to kind of flex. So I went down through there and just welded a little bit here and there where I could to stiffen that side up. The passenger side wasn't as bad. Their welds were spaced down enough that it's holding good, but this side there was quite a bit of space between a few of the welds, and it just wasn't holding that great. So I think it looks really good. I want to get a nice day, push it out so we can step back and get a good look from a distance. It's nighttime now, and the weather's not been that great. We've had rain for like 2 weeks. Not sure what I'm going to work on in the next video. I haven't decided yet. There's still so much to do. I think we may, I don't know, we may mess with the roll pan area some more in the next video. Or we may move off the bed. We've done quite a bit on the bed. May work on that lower bumper valance or splash shield, whatever you want to call it. May work on it, get it straightened out. There's going to be quite a bit of work in that thing. It's really, really rough, and I've been putting it off. I've looked at buying a new one. They're not cheap, and I don't necessarily want to put the time into fixing the one I have, but I don't want to spend $200-$400 on one either. And if I found a used one somewhere, I mean, if it wasn't just in immaculate condition compared to the one I have, I'd just use the one I have anyways. But I've been thinking maybe getting it out and starting to straighten it up. It's bent and rusted and pieces missing, and it's in rough shape. But I'd like to get that lower bumper valance, splash shield, whatever it is. I'd like to get it done and back on the truck and get maybe a little bit of work done on the grill. I think the worst part of the grill is the headlight bucket retaining area. They seem pretty chewy as far as rusted up and stuff. I don't know. We may work on those in the next video just so we can get those back on the truck. And then I haven't decided yet. I need to do some work on the hood. This front corner edge here on the hood it's rusted down all the way across, and I'm pretty sure somebody had went in before and put a lot of plastic filler or Bondo or something in. So it's pretty rough. I don't know how bad it'll be as far as how far back I'll have to go and cut all that out, but I think that front section on the hood, I think that was about it. I do know there's a couple spots it's starting to crack and split right there, and it's got a funky, it's like a dent or a warp right here, and the same over there where it's starting to crack. But I think other than those two little areas and the front, it's in pretty decent shape. So we may work on it next also. I don't know yet. I'm still just trying to figure out, one video at a time and get as much done as I can. So I don't know. We may get those all three of those pieces out and work on them in the next video. But I do want to go ahead and get the other three running board mounts mounted. The only reason I done this one is I wanted to make sure that they were where they needed to be, and this side matched the other side without. I did have to raise this fender up a little bit, and I'm not sure about the other side, but I still want to slot those holes, so I'll have a little bit of adjustability on them. That way, if the gap at the back's not the same, I'll have a little bit of adjustment so I can get that gap the same. And then the gap in between the running board and the front fender, they're not supposed to be bolted. They're supposed to be like a rubber bushing that goes in between there. I haven't quite figured out what I'm going to do there yet. I don't know if I'm going to buy bushing and put bushings in it, or if I'm just going to bolt it. I've seen some that didn't have a gap there at all, so I know it's possible to do it without the bushing. But my thought has been, it's only got the one hole in the front that goes from the running board to the front fender. So my thought has been go in there and put another hole, so it's got two, so it can't pivot, and just bolt it with two bolts. That's been my thought. I'm not sure yet. We'll see when we get that far. These rear fenders and running boards have been a headache, and I'm just tired of messing with them. I almost wish I would have just bought bedside panels so I had all the mounting and all that already there. But I think that's going to be it for this video. I think we've gotten quite a bit done, and having both of those little filler panels done makes a big difference as far as looks wise. So I think I'm going to call it a video. I appreciate everybody watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks, guys.